I have no other choice, no other choice. But the irony is, there's lots of other choices to be made. Like, there's always a better choice than usually the choice he
You ought
makes.
to be
And
in
what Park Chan-wook,
pictures. You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be.
Steve, what we're going to talk about this episode is Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. We have covered some Park Chan-wook movies before, I
we
believe. We
have,
definitely did Old Boy.
yeah,
I know
and
you've
Decision to
seen
Leave, yeah,
Decision to Leave. I know you've seen The Handmaiden, haven't
hmm
you? So
yes,
lots of excitement for this one. This stars Lee Byung-hun, who is arguably, I would say, the most well-known Korean actor
hmm
working today because he does a lot of stuff in Hollywood as well. He was in one of the Terminator movies, G.I. Joe movies, Red 2, and a couple of other things. Speaks very good English. But it's a bit of a strange choice for him because it is a comedy, essentially.
hmm
A dark comedy with
Dark
dramatic
comedy,
elements,
yes,
of course.
yes,
But it is a comedy, which is kind of unusual territory for him. It's unusual territory for Park Chan-wook as well. And this was actually based on an American novel, a Donald Westlake
yeah.
novel called The Axe. So,
Mhm.
a lot of things in the mix. What did you think?
Wow. I mean, there was a lot of anticipation for this film, and I'll just start by saying I love this film. And I don't want to just jump on a bandwagon, James. I mean, it's kind of, I was asking myself, am I just, it's Park Chan-wook, and you're supposed to love it, and you're supposed to
Right.
give it accolades and all the nods. But there was a moment at the beginning of this film where the husband and the wife are dancing, and Park Chan-wook is just setting up this idyllic existence with the beautiful house and the beautiful children and the beautiful dog, and they're dancing, and the leaves are falling, and in that moment he had me. Like, I thought that I know what's coming, and he has just set up this picturesque life family that is just going to deconstruct over the
Right.
next 2 hours. And you called it a comedy, and there is comedic elements, but obviously there's some sinister and dark tones in this film.
Oh, absolutely. This is a very, very dark comedy, lest we forget from the guy who made the Vengeance trilogy, who made films like
Yeah.
Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Thirst and Decision to Leave, which is like one of the bleakest romances I've seen in quite some time. Um, but it is, at the end of the day, it is kind of like a comedy of errors. It's like sort of the escalating what would you call them? Mistakes
Yeah.
and misconceptions and just not pratfalls, but it's a comedy of errors really that just spirals into
Yeah.
increasingly absurd, tragic, sort of desperate circumstances. I mean, just to set up the plot very, very briefly, Lee Byung-hun plays Mansu, and he works at a paper factory,
Mhm.
and he's been doing the same job for like 25 years. He's been working his way up the chain, and he's incredibly well respected, sort of floor manager of the factory kind of thing. And then he gets laid off. The company gets the factory gets automated, and he is essentially replaced by a machine, and this puts everything in jeopardy. His wife
Mhm.
enjoys a very comfortable lifestyle, playing tennis all day and what have you. His two children, two dogs, very, as you said, very nice house in the country. All of that goes up in smoke. And a year later, he still hasn't managed to find a new job. And he hatches upon this sort of devious idea. There is one company left that seems to be doing very well because it's captured the Japanese market, and he basically decides to take out the competition. He zeroes in on in a very ingenious manner, it must be said, zeroes in on who his main competitors in this field are going to be, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna take these guys out one way
Yes.
or another."
As one does, as one does.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it reminded me of so many things, and as much as it was also incredibly original, for a lot of the time, I'm not really sure where this movie is going, actually.
Sure.
It reminded me of those kind of classic sort of Ealing comedies, movies like sort of The Lady Killers or Kind Hearts and Coronets, where, you're dealing with this really sort of dark, gallows humor, despicable, kind of crimes, if you like, but it's done in a very sort of light-hearted and amusing comedic manner. Particularly the lady killers, where they're
Yeah.
these five bank robbers hole up in the house of an old lady who was the witness, and they pretend to be musicians, and they attempt to off her, and they all end up dying as a result. That movie in particular kind of like was always there in the back of my mind as I was watching
Okay.
this one.
What hit me in this film, like you were saying, is this comedy of errors, and the film's name kept bouncing out at me through this whole movie because it's all about no other choice. The
Mm.
American entrepreneurs that buy out the company tell them there's no other choice. And a few times during, is it help me with the name again,
Lee
Byung-hun?
Byung-hun. Lee
Lee
Byung-hun.
Byung-hun. Lee Byung-hun. I have no other choice, no other choice. But the irony is, there's lots of other choices to be made.
Yeah.
Like, there's always a better choice than usually the choice he makes. And what Park Chan-wook does well in this, I thought, was he doesn't just center on, okay, now I've got to eliminate one after another, and it becomes just this comedy of errors of elimination. He brings the whole family into this. There's the son who has an issue with stolen iPhones. The daughter is the cellist who needs this a better teacher, a better cello to play on. And of course, there's the beautiful wife, Sun Yi-jin,
Hmm.
who I have to admit I have a bit of a crush on.
Oh
She's
yes.
she's just beautiful. And of course, he's all paranoid about the fact, she's a beautiful woman. And now that he's no longer the breadwinner, no longer, he's been basically emasculated
Yeah.
in particularly in an Asian culture where there's this expectation on a patriarchal responsibility. Suddenly he's seeing, affairs that are not really occurring. And my point being is this is not just I'm going to off one after another. There's all these stories going on in this orbit that figure into the calculation of him doing these dastardly deeds. And unlike the lady killers, what you mentioned earlier, he he struggles with it. This guy is not a killer by nature. And he, off in the first couple died just by accident.
Yeah.
He didn't even, bad things happen, comedy of errors, as you mentioned. And so Park Chan-wook just has this, it's almost like there's this central sun of a plot that's going on, yet all these other subplots are going on in tandem with it, which just creates this incredible ballet. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the great parts of the script is how, once he's just decides what he's going to do and sets out on his plan, he stumbles upon all of these other characters who are really wrestling with their own issues as
Yeah.
well, and on more than one occasion his presence is merely kind of a catalyst for them to really sort of have some catharsis about their own
Yeah.
marital problems, for good or ill, and arguably he causes worse things to happen than would have happened otherwise, but at the same time keeps its hands clean doing so. I think the other big theme that it really approaches in a really sort of fun, subtle, well, not subtle, but a really sort of fun, interesting way is this just idea of increasing obsolescence. The fact that
Mhm.
we are living in an age where sort of technology, the robots are coming for us. AI
Yeah.
is taking over absolutely anything. It's something that I'm feeling every day in
Yeah.
my industry, in sort of journalism and film criticism, is just increasingly we are not necessary, we are not needed. The there are machines that can do this for us, and where that leaves people who are arguably still fully functioning members of society who need to make a living. It's like, well, where do I turn? What do I do? There is a
Hmm.
sense of palpable desperation that I think the film industry is feeling very, very strongly. And
Yeah.
so the writers and the directors and the actors even involved in telling this story have a kind of sort of personal connection and a personal relationship with this theme, on a level that they might otherwise not. No, they're not being driven to murder, but they understand what it's like to have their livelihood stripped out from under them sort of seemingly overnight. And
Yeah.
the film asks, how far are you willing to go in order to shore up your future, your livelihood?
Oh, Oh, this is resonating, I'm sure, with a lot of people. And I know, even watching the film, I remember 20 years ago, just out of grad school, I was struggling financially. We had our one son at the time, and I won't go off a tangent too much, but we were broke. And my son came home and he needed 40 US, or it was 40 US dollars to do this after school science program. And I couldn't afford the 40 US dollars. And I remember
Wow.
I took the permission slip and the thing you're supposed to send the money in. And I went in the bathroom and I cried. I felt like I can't provide for my family. I can't take care of my son. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. I mean, 20 years later, I still remember this is the lowest point I'd ever been financially. Now,
Mm,
$40, I got that in my wallet. Not a big deal. But at that moment, when you feel like yes, I know that we live in an enlightened age and we should be able to share the breadwinning between husband and wife. But I will still argue that for at least a lot of men of my age, there's still a responsibility you feel I can't take care of my family. And this film does a beautiful job of conveying that just horror that many
mm.
people have either faced or, as you mentioned, are getting ready to face.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the thing is that it's looking at people who are, characters who are kind of like your age, my age, at a point in their career where they should be on easy street. They should be sitting pretty, comfortable.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, I've done all the hard work.
Yeah.
He's always talking about all the sacrifices he made when he was younger and he was doing distance learning courses at night and all this stuff. And he wasn't there for his young wife when she wanted to have fun, and they sort of keep bringing that up. And he's
Hmm.
like, those were the sacrifices I made back then so that we could have it all now. And now it's being stripped away from at a moment in his life when he felt he should be reaping the benefits and the
Hmm.
rewards of all of that hard work.
Yeah.
There are lots of insecurities about oh yeah, I'm being replaced by somebody younger. That was the concern sort of a decade or so ago. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
some fresh graduate's going to come in and like take my job. But now it's no, it's just AI's going to do it.
Yeah.
A machine, but not even a tangible machine. I mean, it is in this instance because it's like a factory, but AI is going to come in. You're just literally going to be replaced by something that and everybody can see is not going to do as good a job as you, but it's going to be good enough. And I
Hmm.
think that is the most tragic part of all of it is you're going to be replaced by somebody who is not, well, not even a person, not even a somebody, not better than you, but just adequate, fast, cheap,
Cheap, you
and
know.
that's the issue. And and even at the end of this movie, when for Mansu, for the character, he seems to have sort of solved the situation, and
Hmm.
really sort of got his feet back on the ground. He's able to provide for his family. That haunting final montage of
Yes.
not only him walking around alone in a factory purely populated by sort of robots and machines and what have you, but then when you see the forest
Hmm.
being cut down by robotic lumberjacks essentially,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
this is where we're heading if we're not already there. This is absolutely terrifying. Not only are we no longer part of society, but the machines are doing all the kind of the worst things that we used to do
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
The fact that it was like kind of deforestation that you see,
Yeah.
one of our worst crimes, and we're just now we've almost like washed our hands of it. The machines are doing it now. It's like it hasn't even got any better. It's arguably got more efficient at doing all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
It's just such a bleak nihilistic note to end on. Even though he's there going, "Woohoo, made
Yeah,
it."
yeah, yeah. Well, the iron like Park Chan-wook, we're left in no uncertain terms of how he feels about this. This is obviously something he feels very strongly about, and it is woven into the DNA of the script and comes out in the cinematography. But what hit me at the end was when they mentioned it being a dark factory. Like basically, the only reason we have to turn the lights on and spend the money to turn lights on is because you need to be there. We
Yeah.
don't even need these machines don't even need the lights on to do their work. That's how dehumanized the future is. It's dark, it's cold, it's mechanical. And Park Chan-wook contrasts that with, yes, humans are inept and we're sloppy and we have weird emotions that get out of control. And yet, underneath it all, there's a strong family, there's love, there's bond, there's human interaction, relationship, and you can see that that is the thing that although the film is kind of highlighting a guy that's making some bad decisions because he has no
Hmm.
other choice,
Hmm.
you can't be left but feel that you can't be left not feeling that this film is conveying a real championing of humanity.
Sure. I mean, I'm just thinking of it now, but the number of shots there are of the sky and the
Hmm.
sun and just like the natural light coming down, even though he ends on this note by saying, yeah, the future is darkness. The future is
Yeah,
cold, clinical,
yeah,
mechanical darkness. He frequently sort of points the camera up at the sky. I think the opening shot is almost like a lens flare over
yeah,
as you
yeah.
see the house. And yeah, the human world is so colorful, it's so vibrant.
Mhm.
There's dancing and there's music and there's passion and there's violence and there's all of these things. And he's basically sort of saying that, yeah, all of these things, even when they're not necessarily sort of good things, they're all
Hmm.
part of, a vibrant human existence and should be championed. I mean, I do want to talk about his use of music in this movie. It's fantastic.
Yes, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
the score is great, but some of the needle drops, I don't know the songs. They're these really exciting sort of
yeah,
Korean sort of folk rock songs. The
yeah.
song where one of his victims is Byomu, who is the arguably the most qualified guy, the older guy,
Mhm.
who with a philandering wife who wants to be an actress, and all he wants to do is sit at home and listen to his records. He's
Yeah,
invested
yeah.
all of his money in this
Very
fantastic music.
analog, very
Oh yeah,
yes.
in this massive vinyl collection, these great record collection, and then when they have this standoff, when Mansu breaks into his house and they have this standoff, there's a song playing on the record so loud
Mhm.
that they can't hear each other, and they're having the
Yeah,
whole interaction shouting over this music at each other. That for me,
it was
that
good.
was like the one scene that kind of like really has stayed with me since watching
Yeah,
the film, and it's so funny,
yeah,
and that music is so good. I've got to
yeah.
track down what that song is.
There was some English songs too that they did, some Western songs that were, I forgot what they were now, but I remember thinking he's really juxtaposing, or not juxtaposing, but really using both the Korean songs and the Western
Mm.
English songs at just the right moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, he's always been very, very good at using music, strong classical music, as well as the score, as well as these needle drops as well, all the way throughout. And his
Yeah,
films always have this sort of like deep texture of sound and vision and whatever all the way through. The
yeah,
cinematography is great. The production design, I mean, every house feels so sort of cluttered and lived in, and
yeah.
you really get a feeling for, well, it's juxtaposing with the clinical empty
Yes,
space of
yeah,
the factory itself. Um, while at the same time, it's the whole film is kind of a celebration of tactile physical media. Really, I
yes,
mean, all of
yeah.
this is because of the threat to physical media. It's like paper.
You
I
pay, yeah,
love
yeah,
I love the line where he's writing this fake job advert,
yeah,
in order to lure in his competition. And he's like, don't email us, don't call
yeah.
us, write us a letter, because if we don't use paper, who will?
Who will? Yeah.
I thought that's great.
Of
Nice
course,
little
I don't want
touch.
to have I don't want to have a digital trail either. But
Well, yes,
yeah,
that's the truth behind it, but
yeah.
it was very well put.
Yeah. No, that's a beautiful house. I was thinking I would do everything I could to keep that house as well. It's just that, like I said, that whole setup at the beginning when they're having the barbecue, and I love how they get sent the eels and they think it's
Yeah,
for a wonderful job, but it's basically a going away gift. Thanks for the, you know,
exactly. No, it's great. I mean, and what I really did appreciate in the film is the strength of the female characters, because
mhm.
I think it would have been too easy or so easy, quite tempting, in fact, for Son Ye-jin's character and Byung-mu's wife as well, to just be for let's stick with Son Ye-jin. Miri is her name. For her just to be the angry wife and just
Yeah.
be like, I've become accustomed to this lifestyle. You've got to keep me happy.
Mhm.
Hurry up, get a new job. Otherwise, I'm going to leave you for my, you
Mhm.
know, who was it? The dentist.
Yes, yeah.
But she doesn't do that. She's
Yeah.
quite the opposite. She's like, oh no, 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 no. That my family is what's important. I'm gonna fight for
Yeah.
this. I'm gonna make the cuts necessary. And she's actually the one sort of negotiating and
Mhm.
directing where all these savings are going to be made. And then when
Yes.
she sort of shall we say, sort of learns the sacrifices that he has made. She stands by her man.
She
It's
she 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 jumps in. She's willing to be complicit. I know that this is a remake of a Costa Gavras film that was done some years ago, and I know reading Park Chan-wook specifically wanted to up the input of the wife character. Like that was an
mm,
intentional deviation from the previous work. Is I haven't seen the previous movie. I haven't seen the Costa Gavras version, but apparently Sung Sung Yi-jin's
Son Ye-jin.
character,
Yeah.
Sung Yi-jin's character was expanded in this film
Oh, great.
intentionally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rightly so. I mean, well, one of the we should it would be remiss if we didn't mention one of the writers of this movie is Lee Kyung-mi, who is not only a female filmmaker, but is a friend of the show, shall we say?
Yes.
She is the wife of Pierce Conran, who has been a guest on the show and is a very good friend of mine, and as is Lee Kyung-mi. She's lovely, and it was great to be able to just sort of say, "Well done," and
Yeah.
not have to mince my words for somebody that I know and be like, oh yeah, 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 really interesting work. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great, and you can see her fingerprints all over it. And I think one of those main things is how she has expanded the female characters. She's worked with Son Ye-jin before. She actually directed a movie a couple of years ago called The Truth Beneath, starring Son Ye-jin, which is a great sort of dark thriller. I think it's on Disney Plus here
Okay.
from 2016, which was a good year for Korean films. Anyway, so do check that out. But it would be remiss of us not to tip our caps to Lee Kyung Mi, because she's great, and her input on this script is obvious and
Yeah.
is and elevates it, I think.
Well, I loved knowing that I had an acquaintance of an like the wife of a guy that I've known and I've gotten to know. And that was going through my mind, thinking, "Wow!" And again, I don't. When I finally do meet her in person, it doesn't have to be an obligatory. Oh, I like your work. Like I genuinely
Yeah,
like your work.
definitely. Well, yeah, do try and watch The Truth Beneath, because it is
Okay.
available. It is out there, and maybe we should do an episode of it, because that's really good too. I wouldn't bring it up if I thought anything less of it, but it's a really good movie. So
Oh, I'll
check
check
that
it out
out.
for sure. Maybe we should do that. So, James, how are we going to measure No Other Choice? What instrument of measurement are we going to use?
I was thinking about this, and it seems to be one of the more iconic images from the film, and that is large dripping flower pots
Oh,
held
yes.
held over his
Okay.
head.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That
thought that could work.
that was a great moment when he's first trying to, and then it's dripping on him. That was good. Okay, why don't you start us off? How many large dripping flower pots, murderous flower pots, would you
Right.
give No Other Choice?
I mean, I think it's an incredibly sort of textured film. It's a film that I hope that is evident that is great fun to dissect and pull apart afterwards and talk about. It's got so much going on. There's so many themes, so many ideas. The execution, pun intended, of a lot of those ideas are really imaginative and really inventive, as one has come to expect from the work of Park Chan-wook. I think that said, if you're coming to this film as a fan of like the Vengeance trilogy, as a fan of Old Boy, it's a very, very different beast,
Yeah.
to those films. And occasionally there's so much going on that it's not always incredibly clear sort of what's happening. I mean, I've seen it twice now, and definitely the second time it really kind of all fell into place for me. I was a little bit sort of what's the word, discombobulated the first time, although I was very sort of tired when I watched it the first time in
Mhm.
Busan. But so I want to be, I don't want to sort of overhype it. I think there's a lot
Mhm.
of awards buzz around the movie, which is always very, very exciting. Um, People have referred to it somewhat lazily, if I'm completely honest, as Park Chan-wook's Parasite. And you can see why, because it is a film about a family struggling to maintain their financial security, and it's sort of all located around a house, and it has dark comedic elements. But I think that's a fairly lazy comparison. It's a very different kind of movie to that. That said, I'm fascinated to see how far it's going to go in the awards conversation. It did pick up the brand new International Audience Award at Toronto. There's always been an audience award, and that in past years has gone on to secure a Best Picture nomination at the Oscars fairly regularly. Not sure if No Other Choice is going to go quite that far, but it's definitely going to be in the international feature film conversation, I think. It is Korea's entry for that, and it's got Neon as the distributor in the US, who did distribute Parasite, among many other things. So yes, maybe I'm delaying, spinning my wheels slightly. So it's for me, it's not peak Park Chan-wook, but that's almost like saying that it's not a diamond. You know,
Yeah.
it's a really great, really fun, really inventive, really imaginative film. Lee Byung-hun in particular is doing something that I haven't really seen him do before, and that is always very excited. So for me, it's a rock solid 4 flower pots out of 5.
You know, I've gotten to know you so well, James, that you hadn't gotten 6 words into that, whatever you just did there. And I know, oh, he's giving it a 4. And if you look at my letterbox score, I gave it the exact same. I gave it 4. I
Brilliant.
felt the same way. And it's interesting you talked about the discombobulation you felt. I felt that a little bit in the middle. Although I praised the idea of these different stories and different things going on, I was a little confused at a few points that I wasn't quite tacking. And then it kind of made sense. And like yourself, I think if a rewatch would clarify a lot of things that I didn't quite, I needed a little help, a little hand holding at a certain point. But that is a mild criticism for something that I really enjoyed. I love the cinematography in this. As you mentioned, I just love the humanity being highlighted and the dehumanity just made to be clinical, cold, something we as humans should take a warning about. Like we are heading the train is coming at us full tilt. We're standing in the middle of the tracks and we have a decision to get off these tracks if we have the strength to do it. And really, this film for me is a warning klaxon of we're going to lose our artists, we're going to lose our tactile, all the things that make us human and we enjoy are going to be lost if we don't make better choices. And so, like yourself, I'm going to give it 4. 4 heavy, murderous flower pots.
Excellent. I love the way you put that. You know, there is a certain sort of nihilism to the title, you know,
Mhm.
a certain inevitability, a certain defeatist
Mhm.
attitude towards it. But I think that ironically, what it's saying is actually, as you alluded to earlier, we do have other choices. We just
Mhm.
need to make them now. It's
Yeah.
almost like the conversation we were having about the environment sort of 20, 30 years ago that we then kind of did nothing about.
Yeah.
Um, now is the time. We do have it. We do have alternatives. We do have other choices, but now is the time.
Yeah.
Don't take the easy road.
Physical media is where it's at.
Oof.
Well, that's what James and I think about Park Chan-wook's no, I wanted to say decision to leave. No other choice. But what say you? Have you seen it already? We'd love to hear your comments in the comment box below. James?
Absolutely. You know, where do you think it sits in the pantheon of Park Chan-wook movies? Have you seen The Truth Beneath, Lee Kyung-mi's other movie? Let us know what you thought about that. If you haven't seen it, go check that out as well. And yes, thoughts on AI? Why not? Come on, physical media, everything. Just
That's
start a
it.
conversation down there, and then check out one of our other videos.
You ought to be
Until
in
next episode.
pictures.
Bye-bye.
You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be.